So good day. How are you doing today? I believe you are very fine. So you are welcome to my chemistry class, and my name is Emmanuel Aderemi, and today we're going to be talking about the atomic structure. We're going to be talking about how the atom looks like, and also we're going to be talking about the composition of an atom. So the objective of this class is basically to describe an atom and also for you to identify the fundamental particles of an atom. So I need you to please pay attention. I need you to follow me very closely, and I promise you you're going to have a very good experience. So what is an atom? Before we talk about what an atom is, I'd like to do a foundational recap of what a matter is and also talk about the components of an atom, which you can say the constituent of an atom. Listen. So what is an atom? An atom is the smallest hard particle of an element. So from the word element, it is expected to ask that what is an element? An element is one of the three fundamental divisions of a matter. We have elements, we have mixtures, we also have compounds, element compounds and mixture. So that is the division of a matter. And also we have the constituents of matter. When we're talking about the constituents of matters, we're talking about the building blocks of matter. Are you with me? We're talking about what makes up matter. We're talking about what builds up matter. And these include, we have the atoms as the smallest particle, or let me say the fundamental, the building block. Then we also have the molecules and we have the ions. Now we want to talk about an atom. We're going to be talking about an atom in this class. We're going to be talking about an atom. Like I said, an atom is the smallest hard particle of an element. It is the smallest hard particle of an element, and it is expected that an atom cannot be broken down by any chemical means. So this is as a result of the work of Dalton, which says atoms are indivisible. Atoms are indivisible. So it means that atoms cannot be divided. It means that atoms cannot be divided, or let me say atoms are indestructible. So the indivisibility property of an atom was as a result of the work of Dalton. And although when scientists like Ernest Rutherford, Neil Bohr, when they came on board, they were able to argue on this theory, and they were able to come up with a new theory that is under the modification of atomic theory. But we are not talking about that today. So basically atoms are considered to be indivisible, and also it is the smallest particle of an element. Now, like I said earlier, atoms are made up of, matters are made up of atoms. It means every matter is composed of atoms. So atoms are the building blocks. Atoms are the building blocks of matter. Atoms are the building blocks of matter, and they are considered indivisible. They're considered indivisible, and it means they cannot be divided. And also, it is important that we say that an atom is the particle of an element that can undergo, that can take place or take part in a chemical reaction. So what this means is that it is only an atom that can be a particle. I believe you are following. In a chemical reaction. What is a chemical reaction? Basically, a chemical reaction is the transformation of a reactant to a product. A chemical reaction is made up of two parts. we have the reactant part, and we also have the products part. Let me use a chemical chain to explain what a chemical reaction is. In the chemical chain is a chain that cannot be reversed, or let me say it is not easily reversible, and it is going to result in the production of a new substance. Let us take for example, you apply firewood on a paper, so what's going to happen in the paper is that the paper is going to burn into ashes. So the paper is the reactant, that is the starting material, while the ashes you get at the end of the reaction is the product. So chemical reaction, it talks about the process, the transformation of the reactant to a product. So in a chemical reaction, um, it is only atom that can take part or undergo a chemical reaction. So let us talk about the components of an atom. What are atoms made up of? The first thing we're going to say is that all atoms, regardless of the number, be it the atomic number, regardless of the mass, be it the atomic mass, all atoms are composed of three fundamental subatomic particles. All atoms, the atom of carbon is having three particles fundamentally. The atom of calcium would also have three fundamental particles. The atom of hydrogen would have three fundamental particles. So what are these fundamental particles? The number one is proton, number two is neutron, and the number three is electron. So we have the proton, we have the neutron, and we have the electron. Now both the proton and the neutron are concentrated at the center of an atom, and this is called the nucleus. So it means that the proton and the neutron are found at the nucleus. I believe you're following. So the nucleus is not necessarily a fundamental particle. It is only a building that accommodates the proton and the neutron. So both the proton and the neutron, they are enclosed, or let me say they are embedded inside the nucleus. Now let us use the atom of a carbon element to show how these fundamental particles are represented in the atom of an element. Now, talking about the carbon atom, as we know in the periodic table, it belongs to the fourth group, and also it is found in the second period. Now we're going to talk about periodic table. I'm going to tell you how to locate where an atom can be found in the periodic table using the electronic configuration. But basically, we just want to talk about the carbon atom. Now the carbon atom is having 6 protons, and this results into the atomic number being 6, and it also has 6 neutrons like we can see here, and it also has 6 electrons. Now both the protons, like we have it here, both the protons and the electrons, so both the protons, this is the proton, this is the neutron. The proton is represented with this red circle, while the neutron is represented with this green circle. So this is the nucleus, this is the nucleus, and the nucleus houses both the proton and the neutron. So this is the nucleus of an atom of carbon, while the electrons occupy the external surrounding. It is outside the nucleus and it is rotating along the shell. This is what we call the shell. The shell is like the building where these fundamental particles can be found. So this is the shell. This is the shell. You can also call it, some authors will call it orbit. Some authors will call it orbit. Let me write it here so that you're going to see it. Orbit. You can also call it orbit or orbital. Let me use orbital. Sorry about that. So orbital coming. Orbital, good. So you can call it orbital or you call it shell. So the protons and the neutrons are located at the center of an atom called the nucleus, while the electrons are revolving, they are rotating along the shell. The shell is a circular imaginary part. I believe you're following. So let us talk about what the protons are and also what the neutrons and the electrons are. The protons are positively charged and they are located inside the nucleus, like I said. So the particle of an atom that is positive is the proton, while the neutrons have no charge. So they are electrically neutral and they are also located inside the nucleus. And the electrons are negatively charged and they are outside the nucleus. They orbit the nucleus in shells. As you can see in the diagram, we have two shells here. We have two shells. This is the first one. 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 And this is the second one. This is the second one. I believe we can see that. So they orbit the shell in nucleus. So that's for proton, neutrons, and electron. So with this, we've come to the end of today's class. Thank you so very much for listening. In our next class, we're going to talk about how these particles, how they majorly operate and their duty in a chemical reaction. Thank you. See you in my next class. Bye.